Hello there, this is a message for my father, Dr. Edward Galizia, and for the benefit of Dorset Police, who might wish to better understand the issues that we are currently facing. And of course, referring to the intensive campaign of threats, terror, isolation and blackmail that's been imposed upon not just myself and my son living in Norway, but also the rest of my entire family here in the UK. And that includes my mother, my sister's children, Zoe and Ella, and quite possibly more people as well. Now, one of the issues I'd like to address initially is what part my father, are you playing in this campaign of threats and blackmail against your whole entire family and my son living in Norway? What are your reasons for this? And given the intensity of the campaign, which clearly appears to just be escalating on a daily basis at the moment, we can deduce without any shadow of a doubt that there is something extremely serious that you're trying to hide. Because quite clearly no campaign of terror and threats on such an intensive basis, sustained and prolonged as it has been for 5 years since 2014, would be necessary unless there is something extremely serious to cover up. So what is it, Father, that you're trying to hide? What heinous, disgusting crimes are you trying to cover up? Because whatever they are extremely serious. I can see that. And perhaps you would like to think about a little bit yourself, how obvious it is that there are serious issues afoot here that you're trying to hide. Because, as I say, such a campaign of terror would not be necessary in any other situation. Now, I'd like to ask you how often you're speaking to my son, how often you're speaking to my son's mother. What exactly is the content of the conversation? Do you encourage her to threaten her own son as well? Are you working together to threaten my son? And how often do you communicate with each other? And during these, conversations, do you discuss your efforts to cover up the murder attempts? And this is, of course, the murder attempt that Anita Fairbairn covered up in 2003, and the murder attempt that happened on your daughter's birthday. This is in December 2012, the brutal, savage attack that happened here at my address in Bournemouth, which coincidentally seemed to land right on your daughter's birthday on the 21st of December 2012. Perhaps you're quite keen to cover up some of the details about that. And of course, perhaps the awful practice of using cancerous tumours to inflict untold misery, mutilations and butchery and quite possibly murder as well seem to be a serious matter that you're trying to cover up. And of course referring to the tumour that developed in my sinus in 1994 and the daily systematic use of this tumour to inflict misery, torture and mutilations without even taking the condition seriously or encouraging anybody or any GPs to give me a scan. And we can only assume the reasons for that are that you enjoyed using the tumour to torture, butcher and murder far more than you did taking it as any serious health condition that needed addressing and treating from a professional. Now, in light of that, of course, we must address the fact that there are other issues of torture happening. Similar instances. This could be a far more widespread and endemic problem, systemic problem than I first realised, or anybody else for that matter, which could explain the intensity of this campaign and why you are so frantic and desperate and determined to threaten and silence, isolate everybody in my family and my son on a daily basis in order to try and protect this torture racket and what I can only describe as a huge scam, really. So, of course, the point is here, Father, that all this behaviour is entirely consistent with mafia-controlled organised crime. and mafiosi cronies, like for example the ones that are running the Maltese government at the moment. And of course, you being a Maltese person that was born in Malta, appear to adhere very closely to these principles that the mafiosi controlled government practice on a daily basis. And from what I can see, your behaviour is entirely identical with theirs, and matches and replicates all their low morals and corrupt behaviour. So, are you aware, Father, of how frightening, how alarming, and how disgusting this is? I mean, in light of the fact, obviously, that bits and pieces of this information and probably this video will be watched in Malta, and everybody is aware of what you're doing, and everybody is aware what you're up to, and everybody is aware that your behaviour and everything you're practicing and your morals and principles are all identical to all these Maltese mafioso cronies that are getting ousted from government in Malta. And I'm of course referring to Joseph Muscat, Jürgen Fennick, and Keith Shembry and all these other gangsters who quite clearly have similar morals to yourself. And what we're dealing here with is a bizarre situation where mafia-controlled crime has taken over the Maltese government in Malta and threatened the Galizia family. But here in England, the mafiosi have taken over the Galizia family from the inside and threatened their whole entire family from inside. It's an internal mafia takeover, which I see is actually more serious and more frightening than what's happening in Malta. And the protests, of course, and disgust in Malta opposing this corruption and torture and blackmail and murder, really, I think, reflect also and match very closely the sort of anger that is incited, from your behaviour, Father. And I think it's time that you address the fact that we all know about this. We all know what you're up to. The police know what you're up to. The police will highly likely will be watching this video, and the Maltese family out in Malta will be watching this video as well. The truth is out. Everybody knows what you're up to. And quite clearly and quite obviously, we don't want any more of this mafiosi-controlled gangster organised crime happening either in Malta or here in England. And at a time like this, when Daphne Caruana Galizia has been so savagely murdered, I think that what you're doing is nothing short of absolutely disgusting. To carry on practising this mafiosi-style threats to cover up attempted murders and brutal torture and using cancer to butcher and murder on a daily basis for 25 years is nothing short of just absolutely disgusting, and it has to stop right now. And I can see absolutely no reason why you should not be arrested if you carry on with this practice of just threatening members of my whole family, not just my son, in order to cover up these crimes that you've committed and murder attempts that have happened to me. So on that note, I hope that you take very seriously the points that I've raised in this video, and I look forward to a vast improvement in this situation in the very near future. Thank you for watching.